All right, everybody, I want to do a video on horseback archery, how to get started. Whether you're coming from horses or you're coming from archery itself or absolutely nothing at all, this should give you a good idea of how to get started into doing archery on horseback. Now, first things first, don't worry about what you're using, and absolutely don't worry about accuracy in the beginning. That will come in time. What you do want to worry about is whether or not you can get yourself coordinated enough to be able to sit on top of your horse and shoot. So the first thing that I always suggest is to make sure that the equipment that you're using is very comfortable for you. In my case, I like to use very narrow shaft arrows, not big thick ones. And I also like to use it's a 35-pound bow, but I regularly suggest to just pick up a nice light, I think this is somewhere around 12 to 15-pound bow, meaning that the draw weight is very little. I also recommend to not do it with finger tabs and arm guards and stuff like that. Do your very best to shoot with nothing on. It doesn't mean that you're going to end off there, but a nice light bow like this black one here is really, really good because it's cheaper. You can chuck it from your horse. You can, do anything. You can draw it. You can even let it go without really worrying too much about it, but whereas you can't with these. So if you're on your horse and you lose your arrow and you let it go, you're not going to break your arms of your bow. These are both kind of small too. They're not very big or tall bows, so they're a little bit easier to use on a horse. So those are sort of the practical things that I talk about. A light bow is very easy to shoot. But the minus side of it, usually they're a little less accurate, especially when you put on these little finger guard thingies. And being that they're lighter, you have to draw back a little bit further to get any decent distance. That said, when you're starting off, don't shoot from far away. Shoot up close, see if you can get it good while working on your horse. But we're not going to start on a horse today. Today we're going to start on the ground because I want to see if because I haven't done this for a little bit, can be a little bit accurate just moving around and shooting. So I'm going to put this one down for a minute because it's not my usual bow. This one is my usual bow, which is actually Canadian made, over on the East Coast. Really nice, light, but strong bow. So again, like I said, my arrows are a very narrow spline arrow. They're very easy to hold if I want to hold more than one. Really encourage you to get to where you can hold a few arrows in one hand instead of having them on your back or here or placing them down somewhere. Just 3 for now. Don't go anything beyond 3 because it gets a little bit more difficult, obviously. And then what you want to do is you want to get pretty good at being able to put the arrow in, and you'll feel for the little thing on I can't remember what it's called, the little knock point for your arrow with your thumb. Now I'm not that good at it yet, but I'm continuously working at it, and I would say whatever you do, don't let that discourage you. Don't be like, oh, I can't get it yet. If you've got to glance down real quick, it's cool, but you're going to have less time when you hop on your horse. So then, when you've got that figured out, you want to be able to shoot. But as you just saw, I shot from way out here. If you're coming from archery, you're likely going to be shooting maybe from the mouth, the cheek, something like that, some kind of point that you're going to pull to. When you're on a horse, you don't really have that time. So when you're getting ready and you get your arrow in, and I'm just going to glance at it because that's just what I do still. But when you shoot, you're going to shoot quite quickly, and it's not going to be where you get to just sit there and take a good long look at what you're doing. So when you're on the ground, before you even bother getting on your horse and doing this, definitely do this from the ground. Just kind of go like this and shoot. Now you'll also notice that I'm moving while I shoot. Right now I'm just moving backwards, and got it. You should move forward, you should move sideways, you should change speeds, all that kind of thing. So that when you're on your horse and you're moving around, you'll be able to shoot while you're kind of bouncing around a little. And that will be the start, the very start of horseback archery. Get pretty good on the ground. The next step, the next video, we'll talk about how to handle your horse and getting your horse used to you shooting while just being around them. And then we'll talk a little bit about groundwork and why it's very important to be able to control your horse while you're doing this, because when you do get on top of them, you're not using your reins, you have to use your seat and your legs. So horseback archery, very beginning, this is how it kind of goes. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you guys in the next video.